you're using the preterite and imperfect in Spanish, there's another thing to keep in mind. What if the verb is reflexive? So you have to honor that reflexive, whether you use the preterite or the imperfect. If it's a reflexive verb, it has to be reflexive when you use it in the past, whether it's preterite past or imperfect past. So always keep that in mind. Romperse is if you break something. Now it's a little bizarre in English because you say I broke my leg, but in Spanish it's you broke yourself the leg. Okay, so it's reflexive. You know, it's just cultural. That's just the way they look at things. So the verb is actually romperse. So when you conjugate, don't forget that say has to go in front of every single verb, and it does that whether it's present, anything, present continuous, past, preterite, imperfect. That say has to be compensated for every time, just like you learned at the very beginning of Spanish 2. You learned the reflexive verb. So look, there's my ending, which is preterite, and it's from the basic boxes. This is a regular verb. It's regular. So he broke on himself the leg. See what I'm looking at that way. But I compensated for the say. Se rompió. He broke himself the leg. Se rompió. Reflexive verb, reflexive in the preterite. I just treat the ending like I would. Do whatever it's required for the preterite, but don't forget, you're obliged to use that reflexive if it's a reflexive verb. Okay, the same thing's going to be true with the imperfect. So, enfermarse means to get sick. A lot of times say, the reflexive, translates into English as get. Like enojarse is get mad. So it kind of happens inside yourself, right? So enfermarse means get sick. Well, if they give you a reflexive on the end of the verb, you have to honor that when you conjugate. When you conjugate in the present, or when you conjugate in the preterite, when you conjugate in the imperfect, you always have to compensate for that fact that that's a reflexive. You can't leave it off. So if you want to use an imperfect tense, enfermaba, he used to get sick. Well, that's how you would translate it. He used to get sick all the time when he was a kid. He used to. See, there's third person singular. He enfermaba, he used to get sick, but it's a reflexive verb, so I have to compensate for that. Se enfermaba, he used to get sick. And so you can't translate it from English. You have to say to yourself, oh, get sick, enfermarse is a reflexive in Spanish. Oh, break my leg, I don't care what it is in English, but in Spanish it's a reflexive. If it has se on the end of the infinitive, you must honor that reflexive. Me te se no sensei. And me te se no sensei. It's always the same, no matter what tense. Me te se no sensei. You learn that in the very first week of Spanish. You say, ¿Cómo te llamas? How do you call yourself? Me llamo, I call myself. Remember, it's always in the front of the verb, the conjugated verb. Just remember, honor the reflexive if it's in the infinitive, no matter what tense. Honor the reflexive.